The use of atomic bombs in World War II remains one of the most controversial and debated events in modern history. Little Boy and Fat Man, the two atomic bombs dropped by the United States on Hiroshima and Nagasaki respectively, have had far-reaching consequences that continue to be felt today. In this essay, we will explore the events leading up to the bombing, the aftermath of the bombings, and the debates surrounding their use. The decision to use atomic bombs against Japan was not taken lightly. The development of atomic weapons was a top-secret project known as the Manhattan Project. It was led by the United States with support from the United Kingdom and Canada. The aim of the project was to develop a weapon that would bring an end to the war as quickly as possible, while also ensuring that the US remained the dominant superpower in the world. The project was highly secretive, with only a handful of people knowing about its existence. President Franklin D. Roosevelt was one of those people, and he authorized the project in 1942. However, Roosevelt died in April 1945, and it was his successor, President Harry S. Truman, who had to make the decision to use the atomic bomb. Truman was faced with a difficult decision. On the one hand, the war in Europe had ended, and the Allies had defeated Nazi Germany. However, the war in the Pacific was still raging, and Japan showed no signs of surrendering. The US had already suffered significant losses in the Pacific, and a full-scale invasion of Japan would result in even more casualties. Truman was also under pressure from his military advisors, who argued that an invasion of Japan would be costly and time-consuming. The decision to use the atomic bomb was not taken lightly, and Truman weighed up the pros and cons before making his decision. Ultimately, he decided to drop the bomb, believing that it would bring the war to a swift conclusion and save lives in the long run. On August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay, a B-29 bomber, dropped the Little Boy bomb on Hiroshima. The bomb exploded at an altitude of 1,900 feet, and the blast and subsequent firestorm destroyed most of the city. It is estimated that around 140,000 people died as a result of the bombing, either immediately or in the months following the attack. The devastation caused by the bomb was unprecedented, and the world was shocked by the images of the destruction. Despite the devastation caused by the bombing, Japan still refused to surrender, and on August 9, 1945, the US dropped the second atomic bomb, Fat Man, on Nagasaki. The bomb killed an estimated 70,000 people, and Japan finally surrendered on August 15, 1945. The use of the atomic bombs remains controversial to this day. Critics argue that the bombings were unnecessary and immoral, and that Japan was already on the verge of surrendering. They also point out that the bombings caused immense suffering and destruction, and that the US could have pursued other options, such as a naval blockade or a demonstration of the bomb's power. Supporters of the bombings, however, argue that they were necessary to bring an end to the war quickly and prevent further loss of life. They point out that a full-scale invasion of Japan would have resulted in even more casualties, and that the bombings saved lives in the long run. They also argue that Japan was not on the verge of surrendering, and that the bombings were necessary to convince the Japanese leadership to end the war. In conclusion, the use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki was a significant event in world history. It marked the first use of atomic weapons in warfare, and it had far-reaching consequences for the world. The bombings resulted in the loss of hundreds,